And hey there, hi there, ho there, and a gracious good Saturday morning to you. Welcome back to another exciting edition of the Cardinal Couple Radio Hour podcast, where we discuss the joy and excitement of UofL women's athletics. And boy, has this been an exciting week for UofL women's athletics. Yes, indeedy do, with our volleyball team showing off as number one, starting NCAA tournament with a bang and well, maybe a whimper, but no, a bang. And also our women's basketball team going into the ACC Big Ten Challenge and saying Michigan who? Nah, Naz Hillman what? No, I don't think so. A lot of fun things to discuss there today as
There's a
well.
whole lot of Michigan who going around this weekend
Yeah,
in Louisville.
they must be very upset to be in our city this weekend.
Yeah,
Okay, let's face it, for women's athletics anyway, they're kind of like, what is
yeah.
this? Oh my God, there's no
We'll
snow
get
on the
into
ground and
that,
we're
but
getting our
yeah,
butts kicked.
Look, Ball State was just being generous and letting them save money by taking the same bus back home as the basketball team.
yeah.
That's it. They probably got a discount deal at one of the truck stops on the way back for bringing in both teams to eat, right? Interesting stuff as well, indeed. But we've got threesome in here today. Back to the old days of Millwood Avenue, guys, when we used to traipse into WCHQ, eat blueberry muffins, and talk on the radio as Jared is out doing some things associated with his euphonium skills, playing in a Christmas concert today at J10 Christian Church. If you want to zip out there at 3 o'clock for the dress rehearsal, you could do that. I'd just wait till the show tomorrow, which is also at 3 o'clock. But certainly good for him. He has an expensive instrument. He knows what to do with it. So we encourage his skills to do so. And Daryl, we're not with us today. Daryl has some Saturday obligations where she could not jump in today, but certainly we always love it when she's here, and certainly look forward to the day that she'll be back on microphone with us. So you got three of a kind today. Well, maybe not. Maybe not philosophically
We're
speaking,
of
but
some kind of I think.
yeah, it's an unmatched pair. But we'll get into it and have some fun with that. Kind of catching up with the guys. Jeff and I were discussing pre-show about the fun and challenges of corporate world and being employed in it. And I think I've got him off the ledge now, and he's back to us a little bit.
Yeah, it's been a week. So back for a full week of work this week, but I had volleyball to look forward to. I had some volleyball last night to look forward to get me through it. So there, it's been good. Yeah, good win last night. We'll talk about that here in a bit, and a lot of fun. Man, the place was rocking last night.
And it certainly looks so on ESPN Plus as well. And
Yeah,
you were getting some primetime airtime, pal.
yeah.
So,
Too bad I won't get a chance to watch it.
that's true. Is we're going to have to rename you Hollywood, I think,
Yeah,
because of your skills and such. But it's always great to have a diversion from the norm, and volleyball certainly that for you.
yeah.
Catching up with Case Hoskins as well. Case with a great article today. Make sure and read that Saturday article at cardinalcouple.com as he discusses Louisville's win over the Flames. We extinguished the flames, we put out the flames, and the flames will not come up again. Case, good write today.
Yeah, thanks. I was unable to watch this one, both out of principle and also necessity. I refuse to give Disney money for ESPN Plus because I think it's a scam and it's really dumb. But also, last night was my wife's work Christmas party, so I was not home to watch it anyway. The good thing about them carrying this as an ESPN Plus item, though, was that it was at least searchable in the ESPN app to like see the score. You couldn't see the scores within the sets, but you could at least see what the set score was.
The overall, yeah.
So it was better than nothing. But yeah, it was the coverage of collegiate volleyball, which is primarily the top level of volleyball in the U.S. at this stage, is pretty sad when it's such an exciting sport to watch, and people do get so into it kind of collectively when it gets to be tournament time, and the NCAA really just kind of falls flat on capitalizing on that throughout the rest of the season.
It is indeed, and especially here regionally in our area where we have in Louisville the number one team in the nation. And we also have two other very good teams in this state. Kentucky, the defending champion, and they're, I think, seventh in the nation right now. A very good volleyball
Seventh or eighth?
team.
Yeah, something like
And
that.
some,
Seventh.
yeah,
Seventh. Yeah.
and some good things are going on down at Western Kentucky
Yeah.
as well with their volleyball
And
program.
they've got their work cut out for them tonight.
Yes,
But
they do.
yes, they're doing well. They waltzed through the Conference USA. So yeah.
As we will get into some more dynamics of the NCAA tournament as it stands so far. Yeah, as for myself, a week of seeing doctors, and that's never a fun thing for me. Going back and getting some more test results and analysis on things like that. It has been determined more than once now that I'm going through a rough patch right now with some kidney issues. We'll see what happens with them. I certainly think that the medical crews that have been looking into all this and everything right now know what they're doing. They have a plan of action. The only problem I'm running into is having to explain to each successive doctor what has happened in the past. I kind of need to put myself on a loop, and say, here's where we'll pick it up in the 15-minute mark. But nevertheless, the resolve is still there. I'm very, very thankful and fortunate to have such a good crew here at Cardinal Couple who are jumping in and taking care of a lot of things while I get up early and trudge in to go see another specialist. But we're going to hang in there with it, and we're certainly going to put out that good fight as we should do. But this is the time of the show where we get into a little scheduling and Twitter information. Maybe not as busy as it's usually been for Case on this, but certainly a lot of important things going on this week that we want him to tell you about, as well as our Twitter information. So take it away, Case. It's all you.
Yeah. So today, swimming is wrapping up the Toyota long course, open long course. I think that is a U.S. qualifying event for something or other. It's been 4 days. Today's the last day. It's in Atlanta. Haven't seen anything on the site about how any potential swimmers or specific swimmers are doing, but that'll wrap today. Men's basketball is on the road. They are in Raleigh taking on NC State, who I think went to like 4 overtimes in the ACC Big Ten Challenge earlier this week. So hopefully the Cards can capitalize on maybe some tired legs out of the Wolfpack. Volleyball taking on Ball State, as we've talked about frequently, early and often, I think. That one is at 6 p.m. tonight. That's in the L&N Federal Credit Union Arena. I wrote an article that it was sold out, but then I saw on Twitter that there were like 50 tickets left like an hour and a half ago. So there may be an opportunity to get in there.
They're probably having tickets turned in from the other teams that got eliminated last night.
That
Or
makes
you
sense.
could just walk in with Malik Cunningham, say, hey, I'm part of his posse.
Just make sure you don't go in front of the scouting tables and don't step on the red, and you might be able to.
Don't step on the chair flags.
You might be able to escape notice.
Yeah.
But that one is at 6 p.m., the second round of the NCAA tournament. Tomorrow, women's basketball taking on Belmont. That one is at noon. It'll be on Linear ACC Network. Then everybody's off for the rest of the week until you get to Friday, when men's basketball is taking on DePaul at 8 p.m. That one's.
I'm expecting we're going to have a volleyball match Thursday night, but
yes, that was the. I was going to get there. Jeff.
Okay.
I'm going to get there. That the Sweet 16, Sweet 16 and regional matchups set for next weekend between the 9th and the 12th, I think.
They're all on the 9th and the 11th.
They're all on the 9th and 11th. That's an interesting way to do it.
That's what the information has been so far. This is the NCAA, so it might change.
It should change, because putting all of the Sweet 16 matches on the same 2 days, or Sweet 16 and then Elite 8 on the same 2 days, seems to align yourself to some bad television programming. But
what they've done is they used to do, like, they would have 2 days in a row for each region, and they would be offset. Somebody would be Thursday, someone would be Thursday, Friday, some would be Friday, Saturday. But they went with adding the rest day in between them, so to keep it on that Thursday, Friday time frame. They're all Thursday, Friday now,
Thursday,
or
Saturday.
Thursday, Saturday. I mean, sorry, yes.
If it's the NCAA, it is subject to and most likely will change from
Yeah.
day to day.
And from bad decision to bad decision.
It's-
The rest day, I'm actually supportive of. I'm glad they did that. But yeah,
I agree, but it feels
Yeah.
better to be like I mean, there's a reason you do basketball on over a
Great.
4-day stretch for a round,
Yeah.
because
Oh,
that
agreed.
way you can stagger games and have more on at prime times. You put them all on Friday. That's 8 matches that have to be played on Friday. Not all of those are getting put on TV without being on, or Thursday. I mean, not all of those are getting put on TV without being on obscure channels. So I feel like they're just setting us up for another ESPN Plus failure. But
hello, Bally Sports. How are you?
God.
Let's hope not. Please,
Uh,
God, let's hope not.
Anyway, like Jeff mentioned, that will be expected to be Thursday if Louisville can take care of Ball State tonight, and that would be against Florida, who already wrapped up their second round game last night when they beat Miami. So, yeah, that would be in Freedom Hall. I don't think tickets have even been available yet, have they? Because
Pre-sales.
so they have had pre-sales, but you just get refunded if Louisville doesn't make it, I guess.
Right. Exactly.
So you could be able to get a pre-sale early, or if you want to wait until after tonight just to be sure, then you can do that. And there should be plenty of tickets available for that one.
It's a big enough arena. Should be.
Yeah, you would think. See how many
Yeah.
curtains they put up.
Right.
Then on Saturday, track hosts the Cardinal Classic. I really hope that's indoor track because it is getting chilly, and I assume that would be at the new Louisville Urban League track complex downtown. Because I don't know where else Louisville would compete in their indoor track facilities, because I don't know of any on
Years
campus.
ago, they used to run them in Freedom Hall, but
Well, Freedom Hall's a little occupied.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's the deal there for
It's
sure.
true.
I have not been down to the West End facility yet, but I hear it's absolutely beautiful and state of the art.
Yep.
And
And
this
then
is Saturday.
Yeah.
The 11th. Yeah, Norton Healthcare Sport and Learning Center.
I think
There you
that
go.
is the
I think
brand.
that's what
Yeah, I
that
think
is,
that's, Yep. And then this exceeds the week. We'll be back on the air next week. But women's basketball versus Kentucky, Battle of the Bluegrass in the Jimmy V Classic. That one's in the Center on Sunday at 1 p.m. on linear ESPN. So that one will be a big one.
Indeed, it will. And my blood pressure has finally come back down after last year's game. And
Just in time to bring it right back up.
Yeah.
just in time for it to shoot right through the machine again, right? As the Cards will bring in the Cats to play in women's basketball. So a fun week ahead for us all, hopefully with the W's and just a couple days earlier in the week where we can kind of catch our breath and get ready for the next rounds as they stand in both volleyball and basketball. So good things happening there as well.
Yep.
Also, I am going to try to get down on campus next week and have a talk with our new assistant lacrosse coach, Allison Daly, who
Nice.
is on board now. The debate still is out there whether she's related to Courtney Daly or not. That may be one of my first questions for her. And then I may get ceremoniously bounced out of Scott Teeter's office
Yeah,
after asking
maybe
that.
wait until like get your other questions in first.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just like, so did you and Courtney hang out a lot together back? Courtney who? Oh, never mind. No, certainly good things going on with Louisville lacrosse. A very good recruiting class for Scott Teeter coming in as we get ready for lacrosse action later in the season. The Cards, of course, will be fired up to be able to go back over and play a couple more games over in Cardinal Stadium, guys. That's been renewed for a couple nights under the lights out there where Scott Satterfield reigns sometimes.
Yeah, hopefully they can have a little bit better luck with games there this year than they did last season.
Yeah, for
Indeed.
sure.
As for the Twitter accounts, I tweet is at best case scenario. That's BST case scenario. Paulie is at Cardinal Couple. Jeff is at Card Couple Radio and at Jeff McAdams. And then our two missing folks today, Jared is at Mr. Anderson Jared. Daryl is at Daryl Faust 4. And then, as always, check out the right side of the cardinalcouple.com website for the Twitter list that includes all of the UofL women's sports Twitter accounts.
Yeah, certainly a good way for you to get in touch and make contact and also be informed, which is very important to follow in sports. Know what you're talking about. It's always a good idea. You'll be popular if you do. Let's see. But let's go ahead and jump right on into the main course of the buffet here today, and we'll get into Louisville Volleyball. Indeed, the Cards started NCAA tournament play last night in the cozy and I would assume just a bit warm and humid
Yeah, yeah.
LNFCU
It was a little
yesterday.
toasty.
Ball State and Michigan started it out in, and I didn't really consider it an upset, although some people
Oh,
looked
I
at it
think
and
it
said,
is.
"What? Ball State beat Michigan? Are
Yeah,
you
I think it
kidding
was an
me?"
upset. I don't think it was a crazy upset, but I think it was an upset. Yes.
So we'll go ahead and take it, because Jeff is obviously our volleyball expert here, and if he says it's an upset, then I think it's an upset.
Well,
But
I'll add to it that the Louisville team mostly prepared for Michigan this week as over
yeah,
Ball State, so they'll be doing some film watching today, I'm sure. But yeah, it's definitely considered an upset. Not a radical one. Ball State is pretty well respected among the volleyball world as kind of a mid-major sort of program. Michigan's been a little off. They're not quite the powerhouse team that you sometimes expect out of the Big Ten anymore. But
that being very true, and the fact that I think Michigan, that the Big Ten got 8 schools, if I remember correctly, into the NCAA volleyball tournament.
yeah, and there's some debate on whether they should have.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean,
Miami,
there's
but
there's a lot of volleyball heads that think that there's some Big Ten bias there.
and Michigan
Um,
not being ranked in the top 25,
yeah,
but still, Ball State is certainly a very, very capable team, and
yeah,
just kind of blew Michigan's oars out of the water in that first set there.
yeah, they really did. And we came in. My mother and I arrived at L&N Federal Credit Union last night at about, I think it was like 5-1 Michigan in the second set. And I think they pushed that out to 10-1 before Ball State scored again. And they were able to close that second set back down. I think it ended up with like 25-22 or something. I don't remember what the set score was, but it was pretty close. So, credit, 25-22. Yeah, credit to Ball State on, being able to claw back into it, getting a lot of momentum going into there. They took it 5. They went a full 5 sets in it, so it was quite a battle. It was an exciting game to watch. Also helped that we were sitting right next to the whole Ball State crowd, which they brought a bunch of people. They traveled really well, so big crowd there. There's going to be a lot of people in red and black there tonight, or red and white anyway.
That's right.
A lot of
It's
red.
Birdland.
Yeah.
Northern Cardinals versus Kentucky Cardinals as we get ready for who advances to the Sweet 16 in this pod. And certainly we are going to talk in length about that. Case with the write up about that today, and Case was prepared to write negative things about the match tonight, but fortunately did not have to, as the flames were extinguished pretty quickly. There was a brief flare up in the second set where they looked at Louisville and said, y'all want to play 4? What do y'all think about playing 4? Is that a good idea? But it didn't quite happen for them, as Louisville, in a straight set sweep over this powerful Flames team that did well in the Horizon League, but is now headed home as the Cards 21 or 25-11, 25-22 or 21, and
Just
then
20.
25-20 is correct, and then 25-11 in the final set for Louisville. Case just more the same for Louisville. A lot of different weapons, a lot of different attack, a lot of different blockers.
Yeah, and just so snake bitten by UofL athletics, and then also the Seahawks are terrible this season, and it's just like Louisville's postseason, Louisville women's fall sports postseasons, particularly this year, have just been so poor or non-existent in the case of soccer. My brain just had to create this pessimistic idea where I was like, oh man, what if like the worst happens, like the call to the void, but for sports. But fortunately, Louisville just went out and did exactly what we wanted them to do, except maybe for that little weird hiccup in the second set. But yeah, I'm presumably as the number 1 overall seed, Louisville got the 64th ranked team in the tournament. You presumably, you would think that's how they would align it.
They
but
don't. Actually, in volleyball, they do. They
try to do
heavily
regional.
lean on geography.
Yeah. That was weird to me. I thought that when I was looking at the bracket, that the Florida site and the BYU site were actually the two like tightest regions, which is the 16th and 11th seed. You're just like, you guys get the close matches, and everybody else just kind of gets some debris around them.
It's basic. The bracketing principles in volleyball are basically that the top 16 teams get seeded, and then everybody else gets placed geographically. There's a little bit of seeding within that, but it's
because you wouldn't want to send Western here because that wouldn't be fair.
Instead they
what would be fun?
Atlanta.
I don't think so.
Well, a lot of the bracketology had them going to Lexington, which wouldn't have been bad either. But I mean, that's still, that's what, 4 or 5 hours. That's not bad, right?
Down to Atlanta. No, to Atlanta.
Oh, to Atlanta. Well, depending on how you drive.
Depending on how long you actually spend in Atlanta, I think.
If you're riding with Jared, you'll be there in 2 hours plus.
It's my friend who used to live in Atlanta talks about 285. It's named for the 2 speeds you go on it, 2 and 85.
That's a good one. The Cards came out doing what most expected them to do in this first set. That's the Louisville Cardinals coming out taking the first 4 points, letting UIC have a couple, but then going on, as Case mentioned, a 17-6 run to kind of put the set away at 21-6. Jeff, was it pretty much what you expected and what you thought would happen?
Other than the second set, yes.
Let's go to the first set primarily here.
It's what I expected to have happen. UIC this is their first ever entry into the NCAA tournament. So congratulations to them on having a good season. This is the best they've ever done. So that's great. But this was just a different level of competition. Honestly, and respectfully. Louisville came out, they played their game in the first set, and just there was not much doubt in that one. So maybe the most interesting thing in the first set was to see on UIC's team the juxtaposition of their 6'10" player and their 5'0" player standing next to each other on occasion. It's quite a sight to see. Both are good players, but
6'10" is definitely an eye catcher on the volleyball court, and certainly she had a couple good moments out there.
Yeah, she's not a superb player, but she's a solid. Yeah, I mean at 6'10", you can put some swings on it and do some great things with it. But
as Denny Crum used to say, if it's 6'10", I'll find a way to make it effective somehow.
Right. Yeah. Right. But, and there's some of that going on there.
That first set, the Cards won through pretty easily here, Case. Unfortunately, there were some errors for Louisville in the second set a little bit. The Cards, were they just kind of thinking to themselves, oh, this is going to be a walk in the park and we can kind of coast through this and consider that UIC was fighting for their lives here? A little bit of a disappointing second set for Louisville, went into 25-20, which is still a comfortable win, but UIC actually led this thing 18-17 at one time.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll go disappointing. It was, you came away with the win, right? You didn't extend it to 4 sets.
Yeah.
It was a little more nervy than I think people wanted it to be. But that, like you said, they got a little error prone, kind of set the tone with I guess it was probably a double hit or a lift by Aiko in the on the first point. So that kind of set the tone. The majority of Louisville's attack errors came in this one. Their only service error, only service error
for the match.
In the match.
They also hit error free in the first set, so they just delayed the ball to the second. Is what they did.
And they came at like a really inopportune time. Coach Danny Busman Kelly mentioned it in the post game, talking about how it was like a run of 4 attack errors in a row or something like that, where they jumped out to that 16-11 lead with back-to-back blocks. It looked like they were going to kind of put that away. Louisville has really used blocks to slam the door and gain a ton of momentum this season. And that first and only service error of the match came at a really bad time. Louisville had all the momentum. If they get a kill to put it to 17-11, UIC probably just whimpers home to finish the set and go into halftime. But instead, you get a service error. UIC then gets a kill on their serve. Anna Stevenson follows it up with an attack error. It just kind of snowballed until all of a sudden UIC picks up that 18-17 lead. Not clear, and they did it on a block, so potential for a big momentum swing. Timeouts aren't posted in the box score, and I didn't get to watch it, like I said. So I'm not sure if Danny Busby Kelly called a timeout there at 18-17.
Yes.
Yes, she did.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if she called a timeout or if she let Louisville just sort it out on their own. But either way, Louisville sorted it out because they didn't commit an error for the rest of the set. They had a block, which goes in as an error, but no just attack errors from them or receiving errors or ball handling errors, service errors, nothing else for the rest of the set. They just cleaned it up, took care of business, and then came out in the third and roundly whomped UIC. But
I got to ask you, Jeff, as well, in that second set, Danny had gone a little deep into the bench here with some substitutions, and did that really affect kind of the quality and the caliber of Louisville play?
Oh, you're thinking about when like Rachel DeMarcus and then Mbunu came in?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, so they've done this a couple of times throughout the season, and it's not particularly things are going terrible, we need to change things up, or even things are going great, we can start putting some players that don't see a lot of time in. I really think there's just an opportunity there for Rachel to come in and kind of reset that offensive vibe a little bit. Nana comes in and she's a very competent hitter as well. The way they do that substitution is they actually have Nana coming in for Tori is in the setter spot, and Rachel coming in for, I think it was maybe Claire.
I have no idea how to read the substitutions, so I cannot help
Yeah.
you. I'm looking at them, but I have no idea how they work.
I'm trying to remember what it was from last night. I don't remember who it was, but it was for a hitter. So they actually end up at with the setter in a different position in the rotation. So it kind of changes things up a little bit. And I think it just kind of resets their balance a little bit. They played 2 points and then they kind of subbed back to the original. I heard some grumbling from some other fans about that substitution pattern. I don't mind it. Rachel's a very fine setter. She's got some very good setting skills, so she can step into that role, no problem. She's a little undersized. That's her biggest challenge as a setter. But it's an interesting substitution pattern, but they do it on a not infrequent basis. So.
After that break for halftime, the Cards comfortably had 2 sets to no. Tori Dilfer was probably reminded by Danny Busby Kelly to keep the offense balanced and go out and do what she has done so admirably here in a UofL uniform since she's been here. And certainly I think we did see on that Dilfer decided to take that information to heart, and also, as Kate so aptly put, hey, Iko Jones needs some more touches. Do you all think that's a good idea? Yeah, probably a good idea. Let's go ahead and do that, Tori. And Jones responding with 7 points, 3 kills by Jones in that, and just deciding that they weren't going to let UIC have any more optimism and hopes about getting a set win. Louisville really just took off in that third set, was up at 17-5 one time. Case just another display and example in the domination of many Cardinal weapons can destroy you, and you never know which one or two is going to do it.
Yeah, I think what caught me the most from this one is that Louisville really closed the door on UIC. They made it in the third set that they were not going to let the Flames get any momentum of any kind. UIC didn't win a single point on serve for the entire set. They won the first point of the set, but Louisville served that one, and then they never won 2 points in a row. So,
yeah, a side-out percentage of 100% is stunning.
Yeah. So definitely, Louisville was like, "Yeah, we're done with this. We
Yeah.
don't want to continue." Like you said, they got up to 17-5, and after that, they were just like, "Okay, I guess we can trade points now."
Yeah.
You can't catch us if we go 1 for 1 for the rest of the way. And then, of course, to make it a little better, they had another little 3-point run to give it what it ended up being at 25-11. And Louisville was just after they got those errors out of the way in the second, just back to incredible efficiency. In the third, just 3 errors, hit over 300.
Sometimes you just got to get the car out on the interstate and blow it out a little bit to get rid of the carbon knock. Unless, of course, you drive it like Jeff does without any carbon knock. But in any event, the Cards had a good defensive effort in this. But I think one of the things that interests me is, although I thought Ball State was a very good team, Louisville really didn't do maybe as much preparation to having to face them as they did Michigan. Jeff, how did the Cards respond against the kind of the upstart Northern Cardinals here that are
Yeah.
facing us?
I have no doubt that they're all sitting watching the video right now, particularly Anna Stevenson, since she's such a volleyball nerd. But what's that?
I was going to say, if you're mentioning Ball State watching film, hopefully they don't watch film in the same way UIC does, which is thinking that Louisville only hits out of the middle because they forgot about some pretty key people when they tried to defend Amaya and Anna.
Yeah, indeed. But that, of course, that's one of the challenges that Louisville has, is that it is such an incredibly balanced offense.
Take one thing away, we'll just do something else.
Yeah. But so Louisville has to do a little bit of prep work today for Ball State. The TLDR on their game is they basically don't block. I mean, they put some blocks up occasionally, but it's not a particularly effective block. But their defense, their digging and passing is phenomenal. They were getting balls up there. I was just stunned. So they'll be preparing for that. They're trying to figure out how to do that. That actually works pretty well for UofL because it's, okay, maybe if they're not going to block, then our hitters are just going to be able to swing away. And maybe they dig it up, but you just kind of say, okay, well, let's reload and fire away again on the next return of it. So I think it's a pretty good matchup for UofL. Obviously, Ball State has some skills, but again, I don't think it's going to be quite that same level. One thing I noticed in particular when talking about the lack of block, when Michigan was out of system and they had an attacker swinging from a bit farther off the net, maybe a back row attack or maybe just a long way off because it was an out of system ball. Ball State literally would not put a block up at all. And it's not like it was late getting there or didn't get closed out. They just didn't put a block up. They had a setter and five
giving
people
away free attempts.
Yeah, and 5 people in cover. It just literally, they just didn't even try to block it. They just said, okay, we're going to dig it. Wherever you hit it, we're going to dig it. And they did a pretty good job with it. But there's, just no even attempt to block it. It was really kind of surreal to watch it after having watched Louisville all year, which is such a good blocking team, to see a team just not even try to block balls. It's like, man, that feels weird to watch.
You have to think that Ball State is not going to try to change what got them here.
Right.
But I think that's really going to work in Louisville's favor because their attack has such a mix, like a good balanced mix of power and finesse. And Louisville's biggest issues come when they're facing up against blocks or having to hit around blocks. So the finesse hitters are going to be able to, find the places. Even if you put 5 back to receive, they're going to try to find the places to where they want to be. And then the power hitters, like Iko and Anna DeBeer, are just going to kind of hammer it home, and good luck if you're standing in the way of it.
Right. And I think we saw a little bit of that example in a season, early in the season with Ball State. They played Syracuse. Syracuse just ate them alive because Syracuse has a bunch of big attackers, and they just went at them. And if Ball State's not putting up an effective block, then those big, European, Western Asian attackers that Lena Yellen recruits so often, they're just going to go to town on that. And, okay, maybe you dig it up, but you're not going to dig up the next one, or maybe you get that one and you're not going to get the third one. Just keep going at it and keep hammering on it. Eventually you get one down. So
look for the Cards to be proactive then early on in the attack, and we will see how Ball State responds to that. Fun match lined up tonight in the LNFCU. Let's maybe just take a quick look at the rest of the NCAA bracket so far, guys, and what
Sure.
we've seen so far. Uh, the Cardinals did have, or excuse me, the ACC did have 6 teams enter the NCAA tournament. 5 are still alive. Maybe a bit of an upset in Miami losing
Hmm,
to Florida
just
and
4.
getting
Just
knocked
for
out.
yeah, we had two losses yesterday.
Oh,
5 advanced out of the first round, but there were some second
I'm
round
incorrect in
losers.
my
Yeah,
information, and then
yeah,
I'm sorry about that indeed. But
yeah.
Miami losing to Florida was surprised me. I'm sure it did you all a little bit
It
as well.
was. It was. I was surprised it wasn't closer.
Yeah,
Anyway,
that's
I,
a
I think
sweep.
that
Yeah.
I think that match could have gone either way. So I was surprised it was as bad of a beat as it was.
And other powerhouses that we've heard about all season long, such as Texas, Baylor, and Purdue, have moved on to the Sweet 16. I think
Purdue
all
had a
three.
scare.
I think that was a very scary. Talk about that one
Yeah,
just a little bit
yeah,
because I thought Purdue would just kind of sweep on in there, but
yeah.
no.
Purdue is seeded what, eighth, right?
6th.
They're sixth. Okay, yeah. So they're hosting in Holloway Gym up in West Lafayette. Dayton beat Marquette Thursday night, 3-1, which I actually expected that to be quite a good match. But then, so Dayton and Purdue played last night, and Dayton went up 2-0 on Purdue. Purdue had to do the reverse sweep to advance out of that. Now, what happened was, so it was 27-25 in the first set, 25-19 in the second for Dayton. Then Purdue basically said, all right, enough of this. They came back and won the third 25-15. The fourth, they won 25-6.
Oh,
They just said, yeah, no, we're done with this. We're just pounded them. And then that deciding fifth set went 15-5. So that still, Dayton just, I think they were out of gas or something. I don't know, but just Purdue just said, nope, we're done here. We're going to advance. And so you lose now.
Well,
the
I've talked
Flyers.
about a little bit how in our text chat, maybe not on the site or here, but how powerful the reverse sweep momentum can be. Like even if you're the underdog team, especially if you are the favorite, if a team puts you down 2-0 at home and you're fighting for your tournament life, and then you come back and win the third set, all of a sudden you've got all the momentum. The crowd's back on your side. And then if you do something like win the fourth set 25-6, then Dayton
You've
Dayton
got
might as well have
all
left.
the momentum.
Yeah, Dayton
Yeah.
might as well have left then. Just been like,
Yeah.
all right, you guys are right. But
Yeah.
that's unfortunate to just kind of watch that one. It's got to be brutal as a team fighting for an upset Cinderella style in the NCAA tournament like this to just watch that slip away.
Yeah. And I will never, ever, ever underestimate Dave Shondell, head coach of Purdue. He is a fantastic coach. He always has that team ready to play. So I'm, credit to him for being able to help pull that team up and say, hey, man, we got to win this and get this done. So it was impressive.
Impressive indeed for those as they join. And Baylor moving on too. So we're certainly seeing, Creighton was maybe a bit of a surprise to me losing out. I think they were the 14th ranked team in the NCAA tournament.
They're the only
They
seeded team to have lost so far. Kansas beat them 3-1. Kansas advanced over Oregon in the first round.
Kansas going past Oregon as well then. So,
Yeah, which was also considered a bit of an upset.
As there is good volleyball, obviously, out on the West Coast for sure.
Yeah.
And Oregon, one of those teams that year in and year out, I think out in the Pac-12, is a good-natured volleyball team that does quite well out there.
Mm-hmm.
But we're getting closer to establishing a Sweet 16. Any insights on the matches today, Jeff, other than the Cards and the Cats and the WKU Hilltoppers?
There could be there's definitely some interesting potential in some matches. You got Florida State versus Nebraska at Devaney in Lincoln. That one could be interesting. Let's see, Wisconsin should pound FGCU. I don't see much competition there. Stanford and Minnesota in Minneapolis. That one could be interesting. BYU Utah is always, who knows what's going to come out of that. Pittsburgh Penn State in Pittsburgh is that's always going to be an interesting one. Obviously, that in-state rivalry there. So
that rivalry doesn't have a name. What gives?
Right? I know.
It should.
I know, right?
Like the battle.
I was
Well,
so
towards
mad.
the
I was
interstate
so
that
mad when I
connects the
googled
two.
that. I was like, "What?
Yeah.
What?"
Yeah.
The Battle
Yeah,
of the Pennsylvania Turnpike or something. I mean, you
I
ought to be able
guess,
to come
yeah.
up with something,
Something.
guys. Come on, let's
Yeah.
go.
And then the other one that we kind of alluded to earlier is Western Kentucky playing Georgia Tech. I suspect Georgia Tech wins that at the 8 seed. But you can't underestimate Western Kentucky. Part of the challenge is nobody really knows how good Western is, right? That they're a one-loss team. They lost one game early in the season, and then they have nothing of a conference schedule in the CUSA.
And did not face Louisville this year, obviously,
Yeah,
as well.
didn't play Louisville, so they just kind of waltzed through their conference schedule, and they haven't really been tested. So nobody really knows how good they are. So that one might be interesting.
Oh, I meant to mention this too. Every rivalry match that the NCAA set up with the bracket is being played, or was played. So like you have Pittsburgh, Penn State happening, BYU, Utah happening. Where's Rice
And,
got Texas,
or at least still alive. Yeah, Rice in Texas. Yeah,
Miami, Florida. Like they've all everyone that they put together that was like, ooh, let's play the rivals against each other in the second round. They're here.
Yeah.
The NCAA stumbles into some must-see TV, except it's not on TV.
Except you can't see it.
Yeah, and there are others that are still alive. Obviously, Louisville and Kentucky are both still alive. That would be a championship match. If these were to meet, yeah. So that'll be interesting. That would be in Columbus.
Texas Baylor would be a championship match as well.
Yeah. Which means So obviously Kentucky has to get through Texas, which is that's a tall task, but it's
been done before in a beautiful exhibition in 2019. Right. Yeah. And certainly do not fall asleep on the Cats up there in Lexington.
And that match would be in Austin and Gregory Gym as well.
Yeah, so that would be
we've won there. It's not impossible.
Yeah, right?
I mean,
it's absolutely a plausible thing to have happen. So
we ain't scared. We ain't ringing no bell. Let's go ahead and bring it on in here and do it and see what happens. And a lot of great matches on the ESPN Plus feed today, which Case will miss, but certainly we'll be following on Twitter and such like that. Is Cardinal Volleyball. That's right. It is the sport on campus right now. Let's just go ahead and get the broom out and clear everything else out of the way. All the allegations about going on about Chris Mack and da-da-da-da-D and Neely versus Vince. And just sweep it out the door. Even kindly set Louisville women's basketball kindly aside for just a minute.
We'll be back to them Sunday.
Yeah, we'll get back to
tomorrow.
Yeah. We know how good they are.
Yeah.
They're going to be fine. We're going to talk about them in just a second here. But let's take a look at what the sport is on campus right now. And if the local media would please jump into that a little bit more and cover this a little bit more. You have an undefeated number one team in the nation in the NCAA tournament. If this was Chris Mack, or if this was somebody else, it would be nonstop sports coverage, okay? People would be going crazy. But volleyball needs, deserves, and commands your respect and recognition right now because what they have done is short of being utterly incredible and almost, well, I don't know. I'm out of terminology.
Borderline record setting here. Yeah, we're on the verge of...
borderline record setting for sure.
I mean, it is within Louisville program history at this point already, but yeah.
And Danny Busboom Gelly coming out of her cocoon and speaking very, very brilliantly about the team because Danny's not the kind of girl who's going to jump up there and grab the microphone and to do a pep rally. Okay, Danny's a little bit reserved in some things, but certainly when asked, she comes up with some very good and astute observations on how her team is playing and how things are matching up. So
she's never really learned coach speak very well. She actually answers questions. It's just
Yeah,
which is more effort. So I get why she doesn't like it as much. But
she needs to enroll in Walls 101.
Yeah, well, I mean, I love the fact that she really answers the questions legitimately. And
you can ask Jeff a question about a particular player, and he'll completely go off the rails and talk about another player.
Right.
He says, "Well, Cam Smith was good, but," and there it comes. But with that, final thoughts on volleyball here, guys, as we get ready for the match today. Case, any final thoughts on this?
Go birds with teeth, beat the birds with no teeth.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah, and I just wanted to shout out. I mentioned this on our group chat. It's just kind of fun. There's Volley Talk is a bunch of crap for the most part. Typical internet forum where 90% of it's just awful. But there's some nuggets of great things in there. And there's a guy on Volley Talk that's created a thread where he is posting a limerick for every team that loses in the tournament. It's glorious.
It's been
So
fun
much
to
fun.
read,
Oh, it's great. It's been so much
and we
fun to read.
thank you for sharing it with us.
It's a
And
very clever guy doing this. I assume it's a guy. I don't know if it is really.
our own Jared Anderson tried to get into that as well. I mean, up with his own limerick about UIC losing to Louisville. I don't know. The jury's still out on what Jared put out
Yeah.
there, but it was a fun attempt to emulate what this guy's doing, and yeah, very very good stuff. Because the nature and the structure of a limerick, certainly you have to have
Yeah.
certain rhyming
So,
points and certain
so
parameter. But
the one that the guy posted for UIC, I'll just go ahead and read this. Out of Chicago came the Flames, who won lots of Horizon lead games. Next was a toothed bird who had the last word. Now hot ashes is all that remains. It's pretty clever.
it's not bad.
Yeah.
It's not bad at all. So we'll see whatever gems of wisdom he comes up with as the tournament progresses. Certainly, he doesn't have to write one about a losing Louisville squad. Let's hope. Okay, don't want to see that one. But let's take it on over to women's basketball, where the Cards were part of the ACC Big Ten Challenge. It was a match that we all had maybe a little bit of fear and possible, worry about because, hey, you know what? It's the case. You got Naz Hillman, and I'll tell you what, they're a pretty good team. They're undefeated coming in here. Have we got something to worry about? Nah, nope, nothing there. It was nah. It's like, thanks for coming in. Take your parting gifts. Tell Naz Hillman best of luck the rest of the year because the Cardinals, with the 70-49 win over Michigan, kind of came in and said, we're back home and we've been gone a long time, and gee, we're glad to see you all. And excuse us, Michigan, while we beat the snot out of you in our home arena. A good
Let's
win
face it, they
indeed.
basically won in the first half.
Yeah,
I
and it
mean,
was over after halftime.
the second half, Louisville basically held on to the lead. It was about all that happened. In fact, Michigan outscored us by 2 points in the second half. So
They did win the third quarter. That's
Yeah.
correct. After it was, but of course, let's preface that case, I think, a little bit saying Jeff Walls wanted to play a lot of different combinations. He didn't know if he would get the chance to in this game. But after that first half, I would imagine he and the coaching staff kind of just said, hey, you know what? We're about 20 something. Let's see what this combination does. What if we bring her in? What's going to happen if we switch up defensively and do this? And doing so and doing well effectively, 70-49 or 70-48. Was it 49 or 48?
It was
I've got a
48.
Okay, it was 48 then.
70
I'd
to
said
48.
49 earlier, and I apologize for that, but it was 48. A case of where the Cards were able to get a look and give the fans a little delight in seeing some players come in and do some things. But the story on this Cardinal team as a unit is don't think by shutting down so and so that the rest of the team is going to crumble into the sea, because that's not going to happen. Someone steps up each and every game, and woe is you if you decide that you're going to concentrate your efforts and abilities on shutting down, let's say, for example, Haley Van Lith. Someone else is going to come up and pound you into the pavement. And,
Yeah, usually Emily Inkster or Kiana Smith. From the
and,
looks
and
of it.
Emily Ainsler, what a
Wow.
fantastic transition from the train wreck that was Syracuse Orange basketball to be able to come back down here and play at Louisville. A tough New York chick, no doubt about it. Okay, she's built in the Sam Fearing mode,
Mhm.
and it was very touching, guys, to see her kind of break down a little bit in the post game media conference after this game and say, you know, basketball is actually fun for me again.
Mhm.
I'm having a good time out there. I mean, I'm getting chest bumps on assists, And she goes, this is making it fun for me again. I love this team. What we've got. Uh, the Cards took care of business early on, case about this, and it was also Kiana Smith who said, "Hey, guess what? I know how to shoot this three-pointer. Y'all watch this."
Yeah, Louisville. You mentioned that it didn't really look like there was any concern in this game, but there was a little bit at the very beginning. Michigan, hit their first three. They jumped out to a 7-2 lead. Louisville was really kind of out of sorts at the beginning, and then they decided that they weren't going to be out of sorts anymore. Over the next 15 minutes, they outscored Michigan by, I believe it was like 36-8 or something like that.
Yeah, that first
So,
quarter was
so
obviously one that we were up on, and then we just put the hammer down in the second quarter.
yeah, and this was really it set up a situation that, as a coach, like you mentioned, Jeff Wall's trying to get a better understanding of what he has outside the starting five, outside the top six, what kind of combinations he can do. This is the perfect game scenario for that. Louisville put themselves in a position to be in a massive lead, up 39-15 at halftime. Um, and Michigan didn't want to go away. They were always going to try and come back. They're a good team. They struggled from the 3-point line this season, or from the 3-point line the other night. They have not struggled so far this season, so it was out of character. They couldn't get shots to fall, but their top six players played 175 of 200 minutes. So in that second half, where Jeff Walls is trying to figure out what he can do with different lineups in different situations, he's doing that while still competing against um, the best that a top 10 team in the country is trying to throw, or top 15 team in the country is trying to throw at them. So that was really a great learning experience for all the players that got in, all the players that got to play um, significant minutes, more than they maybe would have, or in lineups, or play styles or formations that are unusual. Louisville got the opportunity to test out a ton of those against quality opposition and pass the test. We mentioned they lose the second half by 2 points, but they had 22 more to work with, so not really a lot of
Yeah,
concern on that one.
I had the opportunity to speak with Lamont Russell before the game. It's always so much fun to talk to Lamont. We go through some things, and I said, "So the Naz, what's going to happen here?" And he just kind of smiled and he said, "Don't forget that Jeff Walls coached her in two USA affairs. And I think he's got a little bit of an idea on how to shut her down."
Yeah.
And we certainly saw it with a combination, and it was a group effort where Olivia would come in and do something on her, and then Liz would step it up. They'd switch Emily Inkstler over on her for a little while, and the Naz did not develop her.
Yeah. Yeah. Obviously, when you have that opportunity to coach somebody, you learn a lot about their tendencies, what they do. And, that does make it a little easier to game plan against them. I remember years back, we would talk about, we've had frequent discussions about how well the team was following the scout that they were given by the coaching staff. And, well, the team didn't follow the scout. So, of course, they lost. Or so occasionally it was like you would even hear Jeff Wall step up and say, "Hey, we scouted them wrong. That's on me." Right. Um, we haven't talked about that recently because, like, these teams recently, they've followed the scouting reports. They do they do what the coaches are setting out for them to do. So we don't have a whole lot of the wow, well, maybe they didn't really follow the scouting report. But so I mean, this is a perfect example where he obviously knows the tendencies of this player and knows how to set up the team to stop them, and where you can see the Louisville team behaving differently, each successive night they play, and as they're dealing with different scouts. So it's interesting. As a bit of a basketball nerd, it's interesting to watch that happen.
It is indeed. And Daryl Faust with our Friday write up at CardinalCouple.com about his article, and there is a point of contention, or a point of contradiction here with some readers and such about Daryl's analysis of the Fred report. If you have not read the Cardinal Couple before in the past, we do a Fred report in each subsequent article about a Louisville women's basketball game where we Give a grade on free throws, rebounding, effort execution, and defense, assigning either no letter, a lowercase letter, or a uppercase letter. And Daryl, and I'm not sure what got into her, but she decided to give a lowercase f for free throws, and that did not quite meet the standards that we've set for this. The Cards only getting 5 attempts from the free throw line to begin with, which does, I think, hold true to my factor. The decanter delights in calling fouls on whoever Louisville plays. Okay,
Delights in
that's what
not
D
calling them.
does.
What do you mean?
Yeah, not calling fouls and calling fouls on the Cardinals. That is D's primary directive whenever she takes the court. And of course, we had Silly Joe out there calling the game too, and he's
Oof.
Silly just runs up and down the court and tries to get his steps in. But she provided a lowercase f for free throws.
Yeah, and we've always had subtly different standards depending upon who's doing it. Because when I do it, I will give a lowercase f for 70 to 75%. Right. And I think, Polly, with you, you've always been
Yeah,
it's either all or nothing. It's
it's
you're beyond
70 and up.
70%, you get a capital F. If you're below 70%, you get nothing. So
Yeah,
I added when I did mine, I kind of added that little bit of a mid range in there. So we've
and
always
in the
had
case,
subtly different standards. So.
yeah, and Case is completely off the rails. He does his own report.
I
Right.
still do the Fred report.
It does, yeah, it
A
does.
I do
Case
the Fred
report, in
report,
addition
and
to the Fred report, I will give you credit for.
every time I write a Louisville game, they shoot so poorly from the free throw line that it doesn't matter what the standard is. They either shoot like so poorly or so well that it doesn't matter what the standard is. It's no letter or it's a capital F. I mean, it feels like every game that I write, they shot 54% or 93%. Like I don't. It never makes. I never have to pick with that one. It's just yes or no.
This team has hung its head on defense all seasons long, guys. And once again, another outstanding effort on the defensive boards and also on the defensive assignments.
Mhm.
That's the old adage is offense fills the seats, but defense wins games. And the Cards are certainly living true to that adage by putting the defense upon opponents to shut them down. Uh, Belmont Sunday. I haven't done a lot of preview and research on Belmont. Certainly a team I don't think you can totally ignore and overlook. You got to be ready to play them, and you got to be ready to go on them. Just some thoughts on this Sunday contest because we all know what happens a week from Sunday.
Yeah,
Jeff?
Belmont. Oh yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
No. Case, go ahead.
Belmont 4-3 so far this season. 3 losses coming to Georgia Tech, UCF, and Arkansas. All receiving votes ranked or receiving votes in one poll or another. Don't have any wins over anybody. Oh, they have a win over Mississippi, who was at the time receiving votes. They've only played 2 home games so far this season. So they've done plenty of work on the road, but I don't think that Belmont is any team that's going to give Louisville particular trouble. They have scored a maximum of 63 points in their 3 losses. Scored 45 in the other 2. That game where they scored 63 points, they still lost by 20 last Sunday against Arkansas. So it's never a team you can overlook. No team's a team you can overlook, especially in a trap game like the one where you're getting ready to take on your most heated rival and you're coming off a massive ranked win. So Louisville's going to have to be focused.
No less.
Yeah.
Let's not gloss over the fact this is the Kentucky game is going to be part of the Jimmy V Classic, which is just such a big event every year.
And coming out of the Big Ten ACC Challenge, so
Right.
you're splitting 2 big events against 2 big opponents with
Right.
just this what is effectively at this point in the season. I don't know if any games are actually bye games, but what's effectively a bye game, and that's how teams lose bye games. Like you bring a team in, you're supposed to beat the tar out of them, and you aren't paying attention, and you end up not doing that. So I don't think that Louisville should have too much trouble. What I'd love to see is some continuing of the confidence building that we saw the other night against Michigan. Keanu Smith had a great game. Emily Inksler was making a lot of shots. Haley Van Lith finally started making some shots, hit 2 threes, which increased her season total by 200%.
And let's just stop right there on Haley, because there has been kind of a what's the matter with Haley kind of attitude prevailing around Cardinal fans is, oh, she's not doing this, and oh, she's not doing that. And hey, let's look at Haley Smith for what she has done this year. First of all, Haley Smith Van Lith
Van Lith.
Van Lith, yes, has really increased her defensive skills, output, and dedication.
Mhm.
She has become a lockdown guard defensively. Okay,
Yeah,
and when you do
top
that,
top 5 in the nation, right? Isn't that what we were talking about
yes,
earlier?
top 5 in the nation. When you do that, sometimes your offense may suffer a little bit because of that. But when you're playing good defense, your teammates benefit. Okay, they really do. If you're making those stops, if you're getting those steals, if you're setting up those situations where a player is tied up and then it subsequently turns the ball over to you or does something stupid with it, that is helping create the offense when you get that ball back. So fear not, Cardinal fans. Haley Van Lith is alive and well and
Yeah.
playing quite well in a Cardinal uniform.
I
And
think
one
one
of
of the sorry, I was
yeah,
just gonna say I think one of the plays that she gained the most I don't know, respect's probably not the right word, but caught my eye the most on defense was the other night when she kind of hassled a Michigan player for I guess it was probably a rebound and kind of initiated what ended up being an Emily Inksler forced jump ball. But Haley the whole time laying on the ground like trying to get in on the jump ball. I was like, okay, that's probably going to get called a foul if you ever make contact. But I appreciate the effort.
yeah, and one of the things that Haley worked on in the off season was, and she's talked about this, is accelerating her release, making her shot faster so that she can get shots off in more situations. Um, what I wonder is if that has had maybe a little bit of a negative impact on her shooting percentage as she adjusts to a little
Anytime you're
bit of a
changing your
different
stroke,
pace.
it's
Right, you're adjusting a little bit there. It will pay off in the long run, but it may take a little bit of time for her to get her shot back in the groove. I think we maybe started to see a little bit of that the other night. So hopefully, I'm hopeful.
And as she did very nicely, came over and visited me during a game in the past here and stood on the table in front of me and said, Paulie, would you all write something about my defensive skills? And I had a lot of fun with her after the game. After that,
Right.
I just said, Haley, if you want to talk, let's go ahead and just like meet somewhere else instead of, on my table in front of me at the game. Haley, a hustler. And this Cardinal team is a force. It's a weapon. And I like the swagger and the attitude in this team this year as well,
man, I
guys.
thought they were going to fight.
Did you?
I was
Yeah,
convinced.
Yeah,
I was
I mean,
convinced they were going to
oh,
fight.
got
it's
chippy.
like we're the bullies on the block. We are. We're
Yeah.
just like, don't mess with us.
Everybody's getting. You kind of understand Michigan getting a little chippy. I mean, you never want to see it, but they were getting a little chippy. They were losing a game that they thought badly losing a game that they thought they should have been closer in at least. And yeah, Inksla comes in. She's got like you said, that Sam Fearing sort of swagger. Olivia Cochran a little bit as well. I think the two of them really kind of were the closest there. But I did see one of the times where they were getting close to getting into a little bit of a scrap, and the Louisville players all just swarmed Emily, just like, nope, we're moving you away from this.
Hey, look over here,
Yeah.
bright shiny thing. Get away from her.
On that note, can we dispense with like the drama of that replay? Like, just give them both a technical foul, or in this case,
Right.
intentional foul, like that, and move on. Like, as soon as you saw one replay, it's like, oh, she elbowed her. Oh, she pushed her. Yeah, that's 2 fouls.
Because it
Move
happened
on.
right in front of me, and I'm
Like-
scratching my head on it. I'm like, this isn't rocket science. 3 distinct separate events happened here, and we backed Olivia out of it, but she was, even from 5 feet away, still making her point known.
Like, yeah, Michigan asked for it. Ultimately, nothing happens because you both got fouls. But,
Exactly.
like, it was no different than if they had just ignored it. But Michigan, man, was convinced that Olivia had done that for no reason, and they were sure to get a technical foul out of it and get some free throws. But no
it's
dice.
not a very wise move on Olivia's part. But yeah,
Right.
It wasn't unprompted. We'll say that.
But it did give TVD the opportunity to get a lot of camera time, and also a chance for her to get on the microphone and address.
Yell into the microphone. Oh my god.
Yeah. It's like, talk about needing speech skills. No, that's right. good things to come for Louisville basketball. So certainly, like I say, keep them on the back burner here while you throw your emphasis into volleyball, because that is the story tomorrow and today and the rest of this weekend. But hey, guys, we're already past the noon hour here. Another fun, action-filled show. Let's just go ahead and roll on into some final thoughts now, if we could. And Jeff, why don't you go ahead and just start us out with some final thoughts on what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think this is going to be any shock. I'm living my best life right here as a Cardinal fan. Um, yeah, uh, there was posted about an hour ago that there were a handful of tickets, maybe 50, available for the volleyball match tonight. I suspect they're already sold out if you're listening to this live. But hey, check it out. Also, credit to Jeff Walls for tweeting something about it too. While he's in the midst of preparing his team for a game tomorrow night, he takes the time to post, "Hey, there's volleyball tickets available. Go see that. This is an amazing situation." So, thank you to Walls for that too.
Absolutely, Jeff is a team player with the other coaches as
For
well,
sure.
and he he enjoys reveling in stories with Scott Teeter, who enjoys telling him stories back. Those have to be some fun conversations between those two. Case, what you got?
Yeah, just a little bit of women's soccer news after the recruiting class was announced for 2022 earlier in November. Late edition came out earlier this week that they've picked up a grad transfer from Minnesota, Patricia Ward. So yeah, it's good to bring in addition to a bunch of new players to try and recover the offense that seemed so lacking. To bring in another known quantity on offense, some more leadership and maturity, and some talent to try and bring this forward. So we'll see what happens in the spring and what happens next season.
Indeed, we will. Certainly, a pivotal season maybe for KFD. As for me, in this kind of all between weekend and weekend in Louisville women's athletic sports, I'm going to get a chance to get an interview with new lacrosse assistant head coach Allison Daly on the Louisville lacrosse squad, and kind of talk with her a little bit about what she's hoping to find here at Louisville and some of the things she's hoping to do. She was one of the ones that replaced Scott Teeter when he came to Louisville at Canisius, and certainly, as we mentioned earlier, I'll try to work into the conversation eventually whether she was related to Courtney Daly or not, and then see if I get thrown out of the office ceremony real quick. But looking forward to getting back down on campus and talking to a little bit about some lacrosse, which will be coming up later. But right now, the focus is volleyball, and don't you forget it, folks. Keep your mind on it.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, we'll go ahead and get on out of here. We will catch you next week, unless you know something we don't, for another exciting edition of the Cardinal Couple Radio Hour podcast. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.